Houari Boumediene. Houari Boumediene was born on August 23, 1932, into a poor peasant family in Clazel, near Guelma, in eastern Algeria. His real name was Mohammed ben Brahim Bou Karouba, but in 1957 he adopted the name later used as a nom de guerre. He derived it from the names of two Western Algerian patron saints, venerated by the population of Tlemcen in Oran, whom he helped organize for the Revolutionary War. Until the age of 14, Boumediene attended French and Quranic schools in Guelma. Then he went to a conservative religious Muslim school in Constantine. When the French called him to serve in the colonial army in 1952, he fled to Tunis. Then he moved to Cairo, where he studied at Al-Azhar University. His early formation and years spent in the Middle East provided him with a solid Arabic background, rarely to be found in other Algerians. He discontinued his studies when the Algerian Revolution broke out in November of 1954 and trained as a commando at a military camp near Cairo. Passing through Morocco, he joined the underground resistance in western Algeria. In 1956, Boumediene became the military assistant of Abdel Hafid Boussef, the revolutionary chief of the Oran province. After reaching the rank of colonel, Boumediene replaced him in October 1957. In September 1958, Boumediene was promoted to the coordinator of military operations and the head of the general staff in the West. In February 1960, possibly on Boussef's recommendation, he became head of a strengthened Army General Staff and made Gardermoen, Tunisia, his headquarters. From that point on, Boumediene turned his attention to organizing a modern standing army in Tunisia and Morocco, indoctrinating his troops in revolutionary principles and the importance of Islam, and demanding total loyalty from them. His success worried civilian leaders of the population, and in 1962, at Tripoli, differences between civilians and officers broke out into the open. Backed by the Frontier Army and aided by Ahmed Ben Bella, Boumediene decided to take over power. On June 30th, the provisional government revoked Boumediene's command, but the majority of the military supported their chief, who together with Ben Bella and a group centered in Tlemcen, marched on Algiers and crushed their opponents. In the first Ben Bella government, formed September 28, 1962, Boumediene served as the Minister of the National Defense and became Vice President on May 17, 1963. In these posts, he consolidated his hold over the army. Gradually, Boumediene became disillusioned with Ben Bella's moves towards a Castro-style Cuba and deplored government inefficiency. As Ben Bella succeeded in strengthening the army and labor unions, army officers feared that their influence and decisions would decline. Boumediene, in a series of well-planned maneuvers during the night of June 18th and 19th, 1965, led the coup that would bring him into power. Boumediene had none of the charisma of which his predecessor possessed, but gradually, as his success marked his regime, this gaunt, red-haired aesthetic developed into a self-confident head of state and gained popularity. Basically a moralist, he prided himself on his simple taste and austerity. He was quiet and reserved, yet passionate when calling for sacrifice, discipline, and purity from his fellow Algerians. In public he seldom smiled. He spoke infrequently and appeared dispassionate. Because of his authoritarian temperament, he picked the men he trusted and gave them confidence, often disregarding the advice of others. Benevolent in his dictatorship, he understood the necessity of strengthening the country's institutions. Besides holding elections for a series of regional assemblies, he began to forge a solid administration and state institutions. Once he assumed the presidency, he established plans for an Algerian development and adhered to these programs, benefiting from mountain oil and natural gas export revenues and hoping to exploit large deposits of iron ore. He supported technocrats in his government who developed a national petroleum industry. Then he embarked on a program of industrial diversification, earmarking nearly half of the four-year development investments, set at $5 billion for industrialization. In typically quiet manner, he forced Algerians to participate in converting their country into one of the stronger powers of the Third World. Recognizing the need for a positive relationship with the United States, Boumediene had Algeria exchange ambassadors with the U.S. in 1974, the first time in 7 years. In 1976, in another effort to improve global relationships, Algerians approved a constitution and held national elections to choose a president. Voters overwhelmingly elected Boumediene. He continued to focus on the industrialization of Algeria as a major Arab leader. At the time of his death, Boumediene had ruled Algeria for 13 years of 16 years of its independence. Although he was very responsible for developing the oil and gas industries in Algeria, most Algerians still lived in poverty. His last months were spent in a coma as a result of Waldenstrom's disease, a rare bone and blood disorder. Boumediene is very remembered as one of the fathers of Algeria. If you're interested in information on Houari Boumediene, you can access that information on my website at www.lulu.com/KWOOLR. Houari Boumediene, 1932 to 1978, was an Algerian revolutionary and military leader who won power by a military coup and led Algeria during a turbulent period after nearly 8 years of war, and will always be remembered as one of the fathers of modern Algeria. Houari Boumediene. Houari Boumediene was born on August 23, 1932, into a poor peasant family in Clazel, near Guelma, in eastern Algeria. His real name was Mohammed ben Brahim Bou Karouba, but in 1957 he adopted the name later used as a nom de guerre. He derived it from the names of two Western Algerian patron saints, venerated by the population of Tlemcen and Oran, whom he helped organize for the Revolutionary War. Until the age of 14, Boumediene attended French and Quranic schools in Guelma. Then he went to a conservative religious Muslim school in Constantine. When the French called him to serve in the colonial army in 1952, he fled to Tunis. Then he moved to Cairo, where he studied at Al-Azhar University. His early formation